The rose garden estate gleamed in the late afternoon sun, its perfectly manicured lawns and grand marble staircase providing the fairy tale setting my cousin Amanda had always dreamed of for her wedding. Of course, she'd never bothered to ask who'd recently purchased the city's most exclusive venue. Why would she? As far as my family was concerned, I was just Rachel, the struggling event planner, who couldn't afford a proper dress for the wedding. Rachel. Amanda's shrill voice cut through my thoughts. What are you doing just standing there? The guests are arriving. Get to the parking area. I looked down at the red valet vest she'd thrust into my hands during the rehearsal dinner. You know, Amanda, I actually have a proper outfit for the wedding. Oh, honey, she interrupted, adjusting her designer gown. We can't have you clashing with the wedding party's aesthetic. Besides, someone needs to park the cars and you're the only one with, well, experience serving others. Right. Because my successful event planning business was just playing waitress in their eyes. If only they knew that Rose Garden Estate was just one of the 12 luxury venues my company had acquired this year. The vest does clash horribly with the decor, I agreed mildly. Almost as badly as those fake designer shoes clash with your dress. Her face reddened. These are authentic Louboutins. No, I smiled, having sold luxury goods before starting my venue business. They're not. But don't worry, your guests probably won't notice. From a distance. Before she could respond, her mother, my Aunt Patricia, swooped in. Rachel dear, why aren't you at your post? The governor's wife just arrived and her car needs parking. I suppressed a laugh, knowing the governor's wife was actually attending a charity gala at one of my other venues tonight. The woman Amanda had spotted was probably just another social climber with a rented luxury car. Like most of the guests at this wedding. Of course, Aunt Patricia, I said sweetly. Though you might want to check the guest list again. Last I heard, the governor's family was otherwise engaged tonight. She waved dismissively. Just do your job and try not to embarrass us. And stay out of the main hall. We don't need the help mixing with guests. I nodded, watching them hurry back to the receiving line. Neither noticed me signal to Marcus, my actual head of valet services, who'd been quietly observing the exchange. Miss Chin, he said once they'd gone, should I tell them you're the owner? Not yet, I replied, handing him the red vest. Let's see how this plays out. But do make sure the special arrangements are in place for dinner. The next 2 hours were a masterclass in family dysfunction. I watched from various corners as Amanda bragged about how she'd secured the impossible-to-book Rose Garden Estate by paying triple the usual rate unknown to her parents. I observed Aunt Patricia showing off the venue's famous crystal chandeliers, claiming she'd personally selected them. They'd been installed last month under my direction. And I listened as my other relatives whispered about poor Rachel, reduced to parking cars at family events. None of them had bothered to read the society pages announcing Rose Garden Estate's acquisition by RC Ventures, my company. None had noticed that the estate's new modern elegance matched the style of my other venues. And certainly none had connected their struggling relative with the mysterious CEO who'd been buying up luxury properties across the city. My phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. The governor's office called. They loved the arrangements at the charity gala. They want to book all your venues for next season's events. I smiled, typing back, perfect. And the special dinner arrangements here. Ready when you are, Miss Chin. Though you might want to see what your cousin just did to the bridal suite. I made my way upstairs, finding Amanda throwing what could only be described as a premium tantrum. Apparently, she discovered that the bridal suite's premium champagne had been replaced with the standard variety she'd actually paid for. This is unacceptable, she screeched at the venue manager, who was trying very hard not to smile. I specifically demanded Cristal. Where's the owner? I want to speak to them immediately. I checked my watch. Almost time for dinner when the help would traditionally be banished to the kitchen. Perfect timing for a little revelation. Marcus, I spoke into my earpiece. Tell the staff to prepare for Protocol Zero. Protocol Zero. My company's code for when a client's bad behavior requires owner intervention. In this case, it would be a particularly satisfying intervention. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just owning the venue. It's waiting for exactly the right moment to reveal who really holds the power. And as I watched Amanda storm around the bridal suite, demanding to speak to the owner, I couldn't help but smile. She was about to get exactly what she wanted. just not quite the way she expected. The wedding reception was in full swing when I decided to make my move. Amanda had just finished a particularly condescending speech about family loyalty, rich coming from someone who'd relegated her cousin to the parking lot. When I signaled Marcus to begin Protocol Zero, the venue's manager, Sarah, who'd been playing along all day, stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption, but I have an important announcement. Due to some irregularities in the payment arrangement, the owner needs the venue back immediately." The room erupted in confused murmurs. Amanda, face flushed with champagne and embarrassment, stormed toward Sarah. "This is ridiculous. We paid in full. Where's the owner? I demand to speak to them." I stood up from my corner table, smoothing down my servant's outfit. Actually a Chanel dress worth more than Amanda's entire wedding. "Yes, you do. Rachel," Aunt Patricia hissed. "Sit down. Let the important people handle this." "Oh, I am handling it," I replied, walking to the center of the room. "Sarah, please pull up the payment records on the main screen." The large display screen, typically used for wedding photos, flickered to life, showing Amanda's payment history, including 3 bounce checks and a final payment made with a maxed-out credit card. "As you can see," I continued, now standing at the front of the room, "the final payment for today's event was declined this morning. As the owner of Rose Garden Estate, I have every right to end this event." The silence was deafening. Amanda's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish, while Aunt Patricia gripped her husband's arm so tightly he winced. "You," Amanda finally squeaked. "You own, but your parking cars." "Actually," I smiled, "I was observing how you treat service staff. It's something I do at all my venues. Helps me know which clients to blacklist." Marcus appeared with a folder. "The complete file on my family's behavior today. Should I share the security footage of the bride's comments about the catering staff, Ms. Chin?" "That won't be necessary." I turned to address the shocked guests. "You see, Rose Garden Estate is just one of 12 luxury venues owned by RC Ventures. We typically require references for our clients, but when my dear cousin booked the venue through a third party, she had no idea she was dealing with my company." But the governor's wife," Aunt Patricia protested weakly. "She's here." "No, she's at my other venue attending the Children's Hospital Gala." I pulled up a live feed on the screen showing the actual event. "Though I'm curious why you felt the need to lie about your guest list." Amanda's father stepped forward, ever the businessman. "Now, Rachel, surely we can work something out. Name your price." "Price?" I laughed softly. "This isn't about money. This is about respect. Something this family seems to have forgotten." I walked to Amanda, who was now crying mascara tracks down her face. "You know what the difference is between us, cousin? When I serve people, it's because I choose to learn about my business from the ground up. When you serve people, it's because you've maxed out your credit cards pretending to be something you're not." The screen changed again, showing a comprehensive list of Amanda's attempts to book various luxury venues across the city, all owned by my company, all rejected due to insufficient funds. "Your dream wedding was built on borrowed money and bounced checks," I continued. "The only reason you got this venue was because I wanted to see if you'd finally grown up. Clearly, I was mistaken." "You can't do this," she wailed. "All my friends are here. Surely I can. And I am." I signaled to the staff. "However, since I believe in professional courtesy, unlike some people, I've arranged an alternative venue. The Holiday Inn downtown has a lovely conference room available. The shuttle buses are waiting outside." The room erupted in chaos. Guests began grabbing their belongings, while Amanda's carefully curated social circle quickly made excuses to leave. Through it all, I stood calmly watching years of family condescension crumble in real time. "Oh, and Amanda?" I called as she headed for the door. "The red valet vest? It's Hermes. Worth more than your knockoff wedding dress. Just thought you should know. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just owning the venue. It's watching them realize that the person they tried to humiliate actually owned every aspect of their perfect day." And as my family filed out of my venue, I couldn't help but think that some lessons in humility are best served in a conference room at the Holiday Inn. The day after Amanda's wedding disaster, I sat in my office atop the RC Ventures building, watching multiple screens showing the aftermath across social media. The society pages were having a field day. Socialite's dream wedding relocated to Holiday Inn. Owner reveals family drama. RC Ventures CEO exposes cousin's fake luxury wedding. From valet to venue owner. The Rachel Chin story everyone missed. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. First with angry messages from family members, then with increasingly panicked texts as they realized exactly how much of their social lives depended on access to my venues. Aunt Patricia. Rachel darling, about your cousin's charity gala next month. Uncle Robert. Your mother's 60th birthday is coming up. Various cousins. We need to talk about upcoming event bookings. I smiled, remembering all the times they dismissed my little party planning business, while booking my venues through third parties, never bothering to check who actually owned them. Miss Chin. Sarah entered with the morning reports. The Holiday Inn sent over the final bill from last night. Apparently, half the guests left when they realized there wasn't a premium open bar. Send them the bill for the shuttles too, I instructed. And the cancellation fee for Rose Garden Estate. I want every penny documented. Already done. Also, Amanda's final payment was officially declined. Her father tried to cover it, but apparently, their family business isn't doing as well as they pretend. I pulled up the financial reports on my screen, detailed documents showing exactly how my relatives had been living beyond their means, booking luxury venues they couldn't afford, pretending to be bigger players than they were. What about the other venues? I asked, thinking of all the upcoming family events suddenly in jeopardy. We've had 16 cancellation requests from your extended family. All for events they hadn't actually paid for yet. Sarah smirked. Though your cousin Victoria is still insisting her sweet 16 will happen at the Crystal Palace next month. Ah yes, Victoria. I pulled up her booking. The one who told the staff I should stick to parking cars because it's all I'm good for. Send her the same deal we gave Amanda, Holiday Inn or nothing. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message that made me pause. Mom, I saw what happened at the wedding. I'm sorry I never stood up for you when they treated you like that. Can we talk? Unlike the rest of the family, my mother had always been quietly supportive of my ambitions, even if she didn't quite understand them. She'd been the one to lend me the seed money for my first event planning business, though she didn't know it had grown into RC Ventures. Clear my schedule for lunch, I told Sarah, and have the Rose Garden Estate prepared for a private mother-daughter meal. It's time at least one person in my family saw who I really am. The morning continued with a parade of revelations. My relatives, finally doing their research, discovered that RC Ventures didn't just own luxury venues. We controlled most of the high-end event services in the city. The catering companies they relied on, the premium car services they used, the exclusive florists they bragged about, all ultimately answered to me. Miss Chin. Marcus appeared with another update. Amanda's trying to salvage her reputation. She's telling people she always knew you owned the venue, that this was some sort of planned publicity stunt. I laughed, pulling up the security footage from yesterday. Send the video of her meltdown to our preferred society columnist. The one where she's ordering me to park cars and stay away from the real guests. Already viral, he confirmed, along with the clip of her discovering her payment was declined. My phone lit up with another series of messages. Amanda, please Rachel. My social life is ruined. Everyone's talking about the Holiday Inn. Aunt Patricia, this family has a reputation to maintain. Uncle Robert, think about what this is doing to our standing in the community. I thought about years of family gatherings where I'd been relegated to service roles, of elaborate parties where they'd treated actual service staff like furniture, of countless moments when they'd dismissed my success because it didn't fit their definition of achievement. Sarah, I called, implement Protocol Legacy. Protocol Legacy was something I'd prepared for exactly this moment. A complete record of every interaction my family had ever had at my venues. Every bounced check, every tantrum thrown at staff, every attempt to pretend they were wealthier and more important than they actually were. Send copies to every event planner and venue owner in our network, I instructed. Let them know that RC Ventures will no longer approve bookings for any of these individuals. Even for the Holiday Inn? Sarah asked with a smile. Especially for the Holiday Inn. Let them find out what it's like when every door is truly closed. My office door opened again, this time revealing my mother arriving early for our lunch. She stopped short, taking in the wall of screens showing her relative's social downfall. "Oh, Rachel," she breathed, "you built all this while they were making you park cars?" "No, Mom," I replied, standing to hug her. "I built all this because they made me park cars. Every time they dismissed me, I worked harder. Every time they pushed me aside, I reached higher. And every time they treated service staff poorly, I made note of exactly who not to do business with." I led her to the window overlooking the city, my city in many ways. "See that building there? That's where Amanda tried to book her engagement party, not knowing I owned it. And that one, where Aunt Patricia pretended to be a close personal friend of the owner. Also me. And the Crystal Palace where Victoria wants her Sweet 16? I bought it specifically because I knew they'd try to book it. And now?" Mom asked quietly. "Now they learn that success isn't about pretending to be important. It's about building something real." I turned to face her. "And that the person they relegated to parking cars actually holds the keys to every venue they desperately want to access." My phone buzzed one final time, a message from Amanda. "The Holiday Inn just rejected our booking. Where are we supposed to have family events now?" I showed the message to my mother, who finally let out the laugh she'd been holding back for years. "What are you going to tell them?" "Nothing," I replied, thinking of all the times they'd ignored my presence unless they needed something. "They can figure it out themselves. Though they might want to check the owner's name before they book their next venue. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just owning the venue. It's watching them realize that every door they want to enter, every event they want to host, every moment they want to celebrate, now requires the approval of the cousin they made park cars." And as I sat down to lunch with my mother in the grand ballroom of Rose Garden Estate, I couldn't help but think that success truly is the best revenge. Especially when served with a side of humble pie at the Holiday Inn.